So a friend of mine asked me a great question about interviewing recently, and the question is, if an interview is going off the rails, how do you turn it around? And he cited one of my all-time favorite examples, which is the infamous Billy Bob Thornton interview that he did with now disgraced Canadian radio host Gian Ghomeshi. I think it was like 2013. Billy Bob Thornton was there with his band to promote his latest record, and he had clearly instructed the producer that he not be referred to as Billy Bob Thornton Oscar-winning actor, as a gesture of respect to his bandmates. And of course, Gian Ghomeshi did just that and paid dearly for it. Billy Bob shut down at the beginning of that interview, never to open back up again.
Reacting to the fact that I said...
Yeah, I am. Since you're instructed not to talk about shit like that, yeah, I am reacting to that, yeah.
I wasn't instructed to. I'm not really instructed. You guys are here as a band. You're performing, but
the producer was instructed,
right?
So, but somewhere along the way,
because I mentioned that you were an actor and a screenwriter.
Well, first of all, that wasn't supposed to be mentioned either. But
you would prefer me to only do this interview, not mentioning at all, just to clarify.
That's correct. Yes.
At all that you've ever done anything in terms of acting, screenwriting.
That's correct.
Okay, but do you know that people are listening across the country and across North America, and they might think that's odd that I would not mention anything to do with your past?
Well, I think it's odd that you have to smoke inside a white stripe outside.
That is also odd. But that, but that's a little different. That's a rule and regulation. I'm just trying to do a show and give people context for who you guys are.
Well, there's plenty of context without all that.
Right. Yeah. It does also occur to me, though, that you're a pretty new band. And one of the reasons why you get attention is because of the career you have.
We're not really new.
You're not? What I'm explaining is I'm not trying to be insulting to your musical.
Well, what I'm explaining is we said to not talk about shit like that.
So what do you do in this kind of situation when an interview is going really, really bad? And, what do you do in that moment? How do you turn it around? Well, before I get to that question, I'm actually going to step away from that question and propose another question, which I think is important to answer before you get to that question. That question is, do you, in fact, want to turn it around? This is something that you have to really ask yourself and do some soul searching about, ideally off mic, before you start interviewing. Really asking yourself, what is my objective? What's my goal as an interviewer? What do I want to create here? What kind of interview do I want to do? What kind of interviewer do I want to be? Who do I look up to? Then there are other really important questions you have to ask yourself, like, who am I working for? What is their agenda? What do they expect of me? What is the format? What kind of show is this? Many, many important questions that you have to answer. And the answer to those questions will inform the many split-second decisions that you have to make in the moment. You have to know yourself well. And you have to know whether you are trying to have integrity. You know what I mean? Whether you are trying to do a long-form interview where the goal is to make a connection with the guest and talk about real things. Or whether you are more on the tabloidy side of things and you're going for conflict. And I gotta tell you, it's a really sad state of affairs because conflict, it sells like wildfire. There is, a reason that this Billy Bob Thornton interview has almost 4.5 million views because it is so uncomfortable to watch. It is so uncomfortable, and yet it is absolutely riveting. I mean, to sort of see Billy Bob Thornton with this wall up and to see how Gian Ghomeshi is navigating it and how he's, the split-second decisions that he is making in the moment. It's just absolutely so interesting to watch. Look, there are some people out there that are going for conflict's sake. That's usually like on the tabloidy end of things. And then sometimes, like in the case of the Billy Bob Thornton shitfire disaster, Jian Ghomeshi held his ground, and that is okay. It is important to know that it's okay to hold your ground. It is okay to decide that, you know what, I think I'm being reasonable here, and it's more important for me to hold my ground than it is to turn this interview around. I'm now going to get back to the original question. If you decide you do indeed want to turn the interview around, how do you do that? And I would say the first thing that you do is you get it out on the table. You acknowledge we're having a disconnect here. We are not seeing eye to eye. And the way that you do that is maybe you say, wow, you seem really, really upset. Was it something that I said, or, did my question about XYZ upset you? That was not my intention. You know what I mean? And I learned this as an interviewer, that if you can go there, and if you can go to that scary, vulnerable place of disarming yourself, 9 times out of 10 will have the same effect on the guest. So if you open yourself up by going there and saying, look, I'm sensing, that you're upset with me, usually they will, that is enough to turn it around. And if you can get the guest to really talk with you and really be honest, I think after that, you're home free. They know that you are validating their feelings. You are communicating to them that you care and that you had no ill intent. Beyond that, there's nothing really you can do. And you have to then just make the best of it. That could mean just being lighthearted about it, kind of maybe laughing a little bit on the inside of the situation as it's happening, not beating yourself up, not taking it all too seriously. Sometimes it just means wrapping it up and shutting it down as soon as possible. There's no one right answer here, but again, I'd say that the two main things to keep in mind is that it really depends on knowing yourself as an interviewer. And then if you decide that you do want to find common ground and you do want to turn it around, you do that with honesty, which takes courage, and humility, which is often extremely painful. Good luck.